This was a really good game. Okay, if anybody likes high scoring affairs in the National Football League, this game was there for you. I think the point spread, which I don't really put much emphasis into the point spread, but the point spread was like 8.5, and then it was 9, and then the Eagles had a few safeties that were injured and out, so that was really tough to see with Sidney Brown and Justin Evans out. So the Eagles were really playing with a short deck in the defensive backfield with just Reed Blankenship and I think his name was Terrell Edmonds were the guys who were playing safety. But I think that the announcers really alluded to the fact that the Eagles really struggle against Ron Rivera, and especially Ron Rivera when he was the head coach of the Washington Commanders, which that's true. The Eagles do struggle against Ron Rivera, beat him a handful of times, got beaten by him a handful of times. I think he had won one more game than he had actually lost against the Eagles. And they kept bringing it back to the last year's game against the Washington Commanders, where the Philadelphia Eagles were coming in with an 8-0 record. They were perfect. The Washington Commanders were kind of coming off as this team that was trying to play upset, trying to hurt the Eagles while they were down. And that's what ended up happening. The Eagles did not play well. They did not play up to par. The Eagles actually went out and got a few guys in free agency in order to stop the run, because the Commanders were just killing the Eagles on the run. The Eagles had a really bad game plan on defense. They were just playing this, drop back every time and let them pick you apart until they got to the red zone, trying to bend but not break, but that really wasn't working that well. And, the Eagles got beat by Taylor Heineke. And that was the point in the season last year where Taylor Heineke was playing really well. He was on his game. You can't criticize what the guy was doing. But now they got Sam Howell. Now they got Eric Bieniemy as their offensive coordinator. So they were a little bit of a different team. And let me just say that I do think that Eric Bieniemy is the real deal. I think that Sam Howell can be a good quarterback for the future. He's definitely played really well this season outside of one game against Buffalo. And usually when you get walloped, much like the Commanders did last week against Buffalo, you kind of just take that game and you throw it out, and you just can't even look at it anymore. And their offense rose to the occasion very well. They've got a good offense. The Eagles did a few things that made them have a better offense than I think they actually had, which again, they didn't really play well in the box. They dropped a lot of their guys out. They played a lot of weak coverage, which I don't like to see. And Sam Howell is a good enough quarterback that he exploited that. He did very well. Eric Bieniemy looked at what the Eagles were doing and just absolutely demolished them at certain points in this game. Early on, it was looking like are you serious? Right? Like the Eagles have played games like these against Washington where they let Washington get out to a big lead in the first half, and then the Eagles just come back. They've done this before. And this was looking like, wow, like just absolutely destroying the Eagles' defense. The Commanders were going off on really long drives, 75, 80-yard drives, looking like nothing's happening, looking like they're not worried about anything. And they absolutely scorched the Eagles a few times. Now, there was some very questionable officiating, a few pass interference calls that really forced the Commanders to get the ball more or longer on some of these drives and score more points. I see you officials. I made a comment in the game like, dude, who's paying these guys? I know nobody's paying them, but like it was looking a little bit sketch. There was a play in the game where the Eagles were doing their brotherly shove, their tush push. We're going to talk about the tush push a little bit later, where they said that Landon Dickerson was lined up offsides, which I've never seen offsides called on an offensive player, but you could clearly see that the nose tackle had his hand below the ball where the ball was. So I was like, are you serious with that right now? There was a bang bang roughing the passer call or late hit out of bounds. It was bang bang. Come on, and that definitely made me really frustrated. I felt like the Eagles were the better team in this game, but I think that a lot of things occurred with them that caused them to kind of keep the Commanders in the game when they definitely shouldn't have. Let me give props on the table when it came to the Eagles. This was Jalen Hurts' best game this season. In the last 3 games, definitely were not complete games by him. I feel like as time has gone on, he's gotten better and better and better in terms of what he's been able to do on the field. He threw 2 interceptions against Tampa, but honestly, like, it wasn't horrible. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the only thing missing in Jalen Hurts' game is the fact that one of the things that's just absolutely frustrated me is that in plays where he's running to the sideline, he's just like looking downfield, and you're like, is there someone open? Is there someone you can pass to? And he just kind of runs out of bounds, 1-2 yard loss. That's really important. Like, if you're out of the pocket and you're on the sideline, you can throw the ball across the line of scrimmage. You're not going to get a penalty for that. You're out of the tackle box. You're out of the pocket. You don't have to worry about that at all. And I guess I could say that that's the only thing missing from his game. He's just seemed real sluggish. I don't know if he's just lost some of his speed, but he's just got no speed at all. It just feels like he's not even trying when it comes to running out of the pocket. I don't know what's going on with that at all. But other than that, he played great. AJ Brown had an amazing game. He had an amazing game. Sean Desai, who is the defensive coordinator for the Eagles, had an awful game. But it's his first awful game of the season. I guess second because of the Minnesota game. But that's Minnesota. He was down a lot of his players, and I kind of excused him for that one. But I feel like the real menace, the real person who was stopping the Eagles internally was Brian Johnson. And I haven't really gotten a chance to talk about Brian Johnson because I've only done 2 podcasts. And I know that a lot of people were saying, Brian Johnson, he's the next possible head coaching candidate. And, people raved about Brian Johnson, and Jalen Hurts has known Brian Johnson since he was like an embryo. You know what I'm saying? And I just haven't seen it from the guy. Whatever he's doing out there, it just looks like it's not working. Like, you can see that the Eagles, they have a long drive and they get into the red zone, and then they're just kind of like Will Smith at the end of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where they're just like, what do we do? He seems just kind of scared to do anything intelligent. One such drive that I'm referring to was at the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter. Now, the Eagles had a really good drive. They were going down. I think the score was like 21-17 or something like that. And definitely in prime position to score a touchdown, go up by 11 or 12 points, yada, yada, yada. And first down, pass, sailed over the head of Dallas Goedert, miscommunication. Okay, which Dallas Goedert hasn't done anything this year. And second play was, I think it was some other kind of incomplete pass. I don't know. Third play was a draw, a running back draw that lost them 2 yards and Gainwell fumbled. That's nonsensical. I don't know what you're doing there. Like, I can understand it in a standpoint where, like, you might be at the 35-yard line. Maybe you're like, okay, maybe we go for the field goal to get points because, of course, you're more likely to get a field goal or make the field goal than possibly convert a 3rd and 10. But then they just blah. It was just blah. What are you doing? Like, this team is 4-0 right now. They're in win now mode. and you're here twiddling your thumbs playing tiddlywinks. I have no idea what you're doing. Like, you are just clearly the anchor to this football team. We all saw what this team could do last year when Shane Steichen was the offensive coordinator, and Shane Steichen is doing pretty well with the Indianapolis Colts. They're like first place in their division or something, or tied for first place. I don't know. And it's just nonsensical. It doesn't make sense. There's no rhyme or reason to it. We don't have time for a learning curve, right? We're in go mode right now. If that was like the Cowboys, yeah, that would have been really bad. Like, if you go out there and have that offensive game plan against a team like that, or a team like the 49ers, who we play both of those teams, that's going to cost you a lot. And then what ended up happening was the game was tied. They have one timeout remaining. It's 2nd and 6, and the Eagles go out and throw a big touchdown pass. And it was like, woo, like, we're doing great, yay. But I said it at that point. I was like, did we just score too quickly? Because all we had to do was nickel and dime ourselves down the field, have the Commanders call all their timeouts, hit a field goal with Jake Elliott. I know that, I mean, there's a chance that anybody can miss a field goal, and getting a touchdown is getting a touchdown. It's more of a given, but then you have to give the ball back to them. And then what ends up happening is A.J. Brown drops the ball in the DB's lap, and it gets called for a penalty. Like, I didn't know that was unsportsmanlike conduct. He was just dropping the ball. Like, okay, I never want to be one of those people who says stuff like that's weak or the NFL has gotten weak, but that's just weak. Okay? I know that I'm biased right now, but that's weak. Okay? And then our defense just plays bird box and allows them to score the touchdown at the end of the game with like 2 seconds left or 1 second left. And I'm thinking to myself, we better not let them score, because if we let them score, they're going to go for 2. They don't call him Riverboat Ron for no reason at all. They score the touchdown, and then I'm like, surely they're going to go for 2. Like, that's the play, right? Go for 2. You're the visitor. You don't want to go to overtime. You want to finish the game the way it is. Well, they kicked the extra point. And I was like, what? 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 Like, I'm not a statistics guy when it comes to that. That's just not my forte. I like to go with my gut. And my gut was saying you should go for it. Or I'm not an analytical type of guy. That's the reason why I don't want to do sometimes what the analytics say, but you've got that. You've got the momentum. Well, they don't kick the field goal, or they kick the extra point. They don't go for 2. They tie the game. It goes to overtime. The Eagles get the ball on a punt. Jake Elliott kicks like a 57-yard field goal. Eagles win the game. Well, at the end of the game, it comes out and it said that actually the players were too tired for us to go kick an extra or go for 2. So we decided to kick an extra point instead. Bro, your players were too tired for one play. One play. But they were fine getting the ball off the kickoff in overtime. Come on, dude. Come on. Okay, I'm not out on the field, so I'm not going to play like Monday morning quarterback right there, but to me, one play. Oh, you just need one play. You just need one play. And guess what? The Eagles probably would have called a timeout. I'm not going to lie about that. The Eagles probably would have called a timeout. That's why I think it's BS. That is why that lost them the game, personally, because I think they were going to score. They were able to score from the 2-yard line on some trippy jet sweep play. They probably were going to win the game on that play, but they didn't. So thank you, Commanders. The Eagles probably could have wrapped the game up sooner. Like I always say, sometimes you don't have to score more points than you could have to win. Sometimes running out the clock is better than nothing. But guess what? I guess Jalen Hurts gets 2 touchdowns in this game, and the Eagles still win. So thank you, Commanders. Thank you, Ron Rivera. I seriously hope that you don't make that decision next time.